So as children of God, as members of this universe, and part of this community, our church and the Des Moines greater community, we get to help each other. You could say we are called to help each other. We have the opportunity to help each other, but it's more joy-filled than that. We get to help each other. And when you are in need, you get to receive that help, which is not always easy, right? To receive the help. But every time we give, we grow in that area of our spirituality. We give something and we receive joy and peace back. And when you say yes to help, you also receive joy and peace. And we know that we can give freely of our resources because the Holy Spirit will make sure that we have enough. So when we give to other people that need something in the moment, we don't have to step into fear that if I give this, will I have enough? The love of God teaches us that we can give away as much as we feel we can and we'll always have enough at the end of the day. So there are several organizations in the Des Moines area that live into this truth. And we've been collecting supplies for JOPPA. You might go back in your memory. We did some egg decorating at Easter, and some of those eggs also went to JOPPA. Some of you were there that day. That was really fun. JOPPA is an organization that helps the homeless people of Des Moines survive, find housing, and rebuild their lives. And so welcome, Jackie and Joe.
Thanks so much, Rachel. It's an honor to be here with you guys today, and we really appreciate what you guys have been doing to collect supplies for the homeless. I'm hopeful that when you leave today, you'll maybe know a little bit more about homelessness in Des Moines, a little bit more about JOPPA. And what I want to do is start by sharing a video with you to show you some of the clients that we serve and what it's like to be homeless in central Iowa here. So people ask, why are people homeless? People ask, why should I care? And people ask, what can be done to help the homeless? And so I hope we can answer all three of those questions for you today. This film was filmed here in Des Moines, and it's called Faces of Homelessness.
Well, we were camping out because we had just recently lost our place to live. The boys stayed in one tent, and then the girls stayed in another tent. We cooked out dinner, like hamburgers, hot dogs, easy stuff that was cheap and easy to make.
To me, it was kind of sad because I didn't have a house to live in and it was really cold outside.
It was better than living just like on the streets with nothing, but I mean, it was boring. We didn't really have anything to do.
Well, homelessness is a very miserable life. When you're a family that's homeless, it's basically hopeless.
I just couldn't make enough money to keep my apartment in Mitchellville, so I stayed with my friend, and that didn't work out, so she dropped me off at the shelter, and I was scared to death, so I made the mistake of leaving the shelter one night after signing, and I ended up, I don't even know this guy, just said, well, you can stay in my car, and I went to sleep and woke up and ended up in trouble. So that's why we mainly left the shelters, because of that.
Most of the guys down there would have just used her, and so I told her that I wouldn't let anybody hurt her.
I've never been homeless. I was married and had one time and had money and stuff, and seen them on TV, and always hoped that I wouldn't be like that. And then I was thrown into that situation, and I was just scared.
My mom couldn't keep on raising me because I was just too hard to handle, and there's just too much overwhelming. So she, at the age of 17, 15, she told my dad that he can have me. One day I just couldn't take it no more, so I ran away, and by the time I was 17, I was living on the streets for 5 months straight. The worst part of the day is always trying to find food and make sure you're trying to keep your energy level up, and you always are on the move. You're always looking for new ways to make money. I had mental problems since I was like 5, and well, I have almost everything you can possibly think of for a mental problem. But the main thing that really screws me up out here is schizophrenia. Because all the noises, and I hear things, and I see things, and there's things that really are there and really ain't there, so it messes me up.
I'm the son of a colonel. I was expected to go in. I was the firstborn, and it was a mandatory thing that you go in and you do service to your country. Got a job as an iron worker, and I did that the rest of my life. Until 95, when I started having heart attacks and couldn't do it anymore. Since 95, I've had 7 heart attacks. I've had quad bypass. They keep adding stents to me. They're going to call me the Bionic Man pretty soon. That's why I'm homeless, is because of my health. I can't work like I used to work, and which is something I'm not used to because I'm used to working every day. Homelessness can happen to anybody. It doesn't have to be mental health issues. It doesn't have to be an addiction issue. You lose your job, you don't have the income to stay in your apartment, you become homeless. And it happens more and more every day to people. I see people getting frostbitten. I see people freezing. I see people going hungry because they don't know how to ask somebody for help.
I lost my job. I went to the homeless shelter, and then I got kicked out for drinking. And I went underneath the bridge. Then I got attacked, and I got beat up, and I got raped. And here I am. I don't want to be beat up, and I don't want to be raped anymore. No. My personal goods are my personal goods, and I should not have to give them up to nobody. And I don't want to give them up no more. You don't have to, and you shouldn't have to.
I've been homeless probably about 8-9 years. I've had some very good friends that I lost. Some by going to jail, some by dying. And it's not a good feeling because it's like, that could be me.
To be looked at when you're walking down the street carrying 2 big old backpacks, soaking wet, it just hurts. Like, some people just look at you and you can tell they look down on you.
It's rough. You get up in the morning, or even during the day, you have nowhere warm to go, you have nothing. No way to keep your food from freezing. Low point for me, waking up in the morning and not wanting to get up or do anything, because what's the point?
Because sometimes it's hard to get up. And sometimes when you go to bed, you just pray to God that you don't wake up.
Hello, JOPPA. Anybody home?
I heard this car pull up. They came to my tent door, knocked. It was interesting.
For a second, I thought like a really bad stranger was coming. So I started yelping in my head, like.
But then JOPPA showed up and kind of stopped the momentum of us spinning out of control, to where they helped us take control back of our lives and provided a way out and a way up.
JOPPA is an organization that helps people that are homeless, that have no place to go.
JOPPA actually came along and helped us find a place and helped us move and give us a lot of furniture.
They have handed out sleeping bags to me, tents, driving me to my appointments.
Help with food when I didn't have any food, heat in the winter, my tent, and even cat food for these little mongrels.
Last winter, if it wasn't for JOPPA providing the heaters and the propane, I probably would have frozen to death.
And you guys helped us get the Christmas tree and got us some presents and stuff. And then when you helped us find this house, we were really happy because at least we'd have somewhere to stay instead of a tent.
From going to eating a can of beans to knowing that every Sunday there comes a hot meal. Like, that is the most awesome feeling in the world.
It was like a release off my shoulders. It was like JOPPA was carrying part of the load for me, but they provide a lot, especially hope.
I think JOPPA is a really good friend. They really can help you out and really can do things for you.
They don't act like they're any better than me or I'm any less than them. And it's good to talk to people. And that's the chance that you can talk to somebody that's not looking down on you. And it's just a gleam of hope every time they come.
Plus, they seem like they really care.
Yeah,
Not
they
just
don't
doing it to do it.
They don't seem like the people who are just like doing it to like get community work done. They seem like they actually care.
They really think they're really kind, and they just don't drop off the food and just leave like somebody strange would. They're like really nice and kind.
To do what they do, they have to care. It's not a mindset, it's a lifestyle. And you can't do it without truly caring for the people. Got to be able to help your fellow man.
You're not gonna be alone.
Okay. I'm not gonna be alone.
No.
Thank you. Very much thank you. Because without this stuff, we'd be sleeping on the ground.
Thank you, JOPPA!
Thank you. That's probably the best thing. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Joe, and I'm one of the JOPPA co-founders. JOPPA helps homeless people survive, find housing, and rebuild their lives. Our mission is to create communities of unconditional love, support, and hope for the homeless as we work together to prevent and ultimately end homelessness. JOPPA collaborates with other agencies, helps people access resources, and develops unique programs that meet unmet needs in outreach, housing, and education. When you care about people, you spend time with them. So each week, JOPPA volunteers go out and visit with all the people living under bridges, in tents, and in vehicles, and we get to know them. We meet immediate needs such as food, water, and toilet paper. JOPPA helps homeless people survive each day by providing basic necessities, health-related items, temporary shelters, mail service, boots to protect their feet, and making sure everyone has heat throughout the winter. Our ultimate goal is to get people back into housing, and we do this by working with all the housing agencies and programs in town, as well as private landlords and property owners. JOPPA has helped hundreds of families and individuals get back into housing, and more than 85% of these men, women, and children remain in housing today. That's possible because of our extensive aftercare and Circle of Friends programs, where we continue the relationship and visiting with people weekly in their new homes. And it's just such a joy to see people that we met in a camp somewhere or under a bridge in housing and now on their path to recovery. JOPPA is developing transitional tiny home villages and permanent cottage homes that are truly affordable. A tiny home village is a beautiful gated community designed by architects. It provides people a safe place to go with a structured program to help them gain a source of income and overcome their other barriers to housing within a 6 to 24 month period. Cottage homes are truly affordable rental units, also designed by architects, with rents ranging from only $250 to $750 a month for a fully furnished home. In education, we work closely with colleges, universities, and adults to help them understand why people are homeless And what can be done to help those who are currently experiencing homelessness? JOPPA Kids is a K-12 program for schools, youth groups, and kids clubs where students learn about the root causes of homelessness and do something to help the homeless through their service learning and Silver Cord hours. We also do a number of events such as the JOPPA Community Cleanups, the Homeless Christmas Celebration, and the Iowa Homeless Memorial that we hold each year at the state capitol on December 21st to remember those that have died homeless in Iowa. JOPPA is all about meeting unmet needs and filling gaps in services in our community. And we couldn't do any of this without your generous donations and the hundreds of volunteers that contribute literally thousands of hours each year to make this work possible. It's important work, and we're making a major difference in the hearts and lives of people experiencing homelessness right here in our community. Thank you guys all for being a part of JOPPA and for providing the supplies, and Rachel for having us here today and letting you all know about what we're doing. So at this point, I want to just open it up to questions. The videos saved me the time of just hearing me talk with no visuals. And so it's really wonderful. We've got about 10 minutes left. If you guys have any questions, and as you're thinking about what those might be, I might just invite you to engage with us if you'd like. We have newsletters out on your information table in the back. And there's a sign-up sheet as well if you'd like to leave us with your physical and or email address. We'd be happy to send these to you and keep you posted about what's going on out there. So as you heard, we help homeless people survive, find housing, and rebuild their lives. And we're working with all the other service providers in town. We're privately funded. So wherever there's a government-funded program or any other kind of program, we are all about using those dollars and those resources. And so we're working with those case managers, et cetera, and then we're filling gaps and meeting unmet needs with private donations and the in-kind donations, such as what you guys are providing today through the supplies. Yes? Yeah, so about maybe 3, maybe 4 years ago now, the city started doing what we call homeless evictions, and it's kind of a sad thing. The city admits that they don't really have a solution, but they also don't know what to do. Of course, homeless people are when they stay on public property, it's public property, so it's for all of us. We can all stay on and go visit public property, but what we can't do is store our stuff there. And so we can't take our belongings and set up a tent and leave it there overnight. That's considered illegal. And but yet the city for years had sort of a look the other way type of policy. And what happened was that changed about 3 or 4 years ago. And since then, they figured out an illegal tool to be able to evict people, and they've been utilizing that tool over and over because it works, and there's really no way around it. And so what they do is they give a 10-day notice, and then they evict the area. So it's difficult because when you have nothing and you have no place, you have virtually nothing. You've got your IDs, maybe you've got some photographs of your mom or your family and stuff, and it's all in your tent along with your maybe your medical papers. And you go off to work that day or whatever. The thing about the 10-day notice, it is very nice to have a 10-day notice, and we appreciate that. What happens is they don't come on the 11th day. It depends on weather, it depends on workloads, et cetera. So they might come on the 15th day or the 30th day. And so what happens is people will be like, well, are they really coming? And I don't think so, so I'm going to go to work today, and then bang, they're surprised. They get home that night, and there's nothing left, and everything's been taken away. So what the city does and the way they police that is they just simply remove all the personal property, and they don't differentiate or let anybody come back. We had a gentleman that was in the Des Moines Register who had his father's remains in his urns. He was in an urn. He was very distraught. It had been 6 months since his father had died, and that was his most precious possession. And he got back to find that they were cleaning up the camp, but they hadn't got to his tent yet. And so he simply wanted to go get the urn, and they would not let him go get it. And there's good people. There's 2,000 people or something in the city of Des Moines. There's some very, very good people, and there's some other folks that are very, very good too. But they're just doing their job, and they're doing what they're told to do. And so it's not like there's bad people. It's just it's a dynamically complex problem, and we can see both sides of it. So we try to work with the city on building the housing and trying to help with the evictions, but it's just a complex thing, and there's nowhere really for people to go. That's why we want to build a tiny home village. It'll take 50 people right off the streets immediately. They'll no longer be homeless. They'll have the support network they need and the help they need to get a job, get a source of income, and then move on within a 12 to 24 month type, 6 to 24 month type of period. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we're building two types of housing. One is the tiny home village you mentioned. That requires what's called a PUD, which is a private unit development. Am I saying that right for any developers out there? I think I'm saying that right. That means that you can write your own rules if you can get it approved. And so the whole thing is to get it approved. And so these tiny home villages, we didn't make this concept up. We copied it. They're around the country, and there's over 25 of them. I don't even know how many now. They built one now in Kansas City. There's one in St. Louis. They're all around us. We visited one in Madison, and you'll see that video on our website if you'd like, or our YouTube channel. But they're very successful, or at least the majority of them have been very successful. And what we've done is copied their best practices. And so in these places, it does take usually 5 or more years to get them approved. The issue is really not in my backyard. Most all of us would probably agree that this is a really great idea, but maybe not like, next door to our business or to where we live. Because then we start to wonder, well, what will happen to our neighborhood, or the safety or the property values or the safety of my kids? And these are all natural concerns that any business owner or parent would have. So it takes a while for people to come around and understand that these villages actually lift neighborhoods up, and they're exciting. The people that are actually in the neighborhoods next door wish they would have come to their neighborhood after they all fought it. So it's interesting. But yeah, if we can find a place, we want to be within a mile of a grocery store and a mile of a bus stop, or grocery store or convenience store, either one, and a mile of a bus stop. And so we're looking for at least 5 acres. We'd prefer to have more like 10 to 15 so that we can build some cottage homes around the village, both to buffer it for the neighborhood, also to provide the folks in the village a place to stay just right outside the village where they can still be involved in the community and give back. Because that's the biggest thing when you're homeless, you need community, more so than maybe the rest of us who kind of go into our garages and shut the door, and we don't really need anybody else anymore in this day and age. But when you're homeless, you really need community, and you don't want to leave it after you have it. Now, the cottage homes you saw, there was a picture of an actual home that we built in Cheatham Park, and we're going to be announcing we're building 2 more in the Cheatham Park neighborhood, hopefully breaking ground this year. And those homes will be impacted by the new code you mentioned that requires the basement and requires the shed, but there are some variances to that. And the variances have to do with how many other garages are in the neighborhood, the percentage of homes that already don't have garages and or don't have basements. And so it sounds like we work closely with planning and zoning, and they really like what we're doing. And it sounds like we're going to be able to continue to get variances. But the issue is you've got to go back and get approval every time for each home you build, which is cumbersome. But yes, it is better than nothing. So we'll be able to keep building these cottage homes, which rents start at $250 and go up to, so if I'm on disability, I'm usually making right now $771 a month, I believe, and that goes up a little bit each year, but $771 a month. And so we're supposed to spend 30% of our income on housing, or no more than 30%. That's $235 a month. And yet the average apartment in Des Moines is $800, and they say going up to $850. And so we need rental units for people, in that $250 range for veterans and folks that are disabled, and folks that are, living on that kind of income. So we're going to keep building more cottage homes. How about other questions? Yes, ma'am. So the one we built, so the first one we built was about $70,000, and we think we can drive that cost down. This was a 384 square foot home that rents for $550 a month, is the first one we built, and we think we can drive that cost down a little bit. But we're looking at hopefully around $35,000 a unit on average, which compares to, there's a really cool project you may have heard about with containers that the shelter is going to do, and they're going to build 24 units for right under $5 million. So those are $248,000 a unit, and we're trying to be at $35,000 a unit. So we're trying to be very, very, very efficient. And that's a good project, by the way. It's just more expensive than ours. How about other questions? Yes, sir. Thank you for asking that. So we have volunteer opportunities. You might think of outreach and aftercare. So that's what most people think of when they think of JOPPA, and you guys can get involved. If you want to go out and meet homeless people and let them know that they're loved and that they're still human beings, then you can get involved in that. And so every Sunday afternoon, we'll have 50 to 100 people on the streets visiting everybody that's unsheltered that we know of under every bridge and every tent all over Des Moines. So we have 5 routes now that go out to the camps. We also have another 5 routes that go to apartments, and these are folks that we've helped or that we've worked with other agencies. We are working with other people all the time, but we've helped over 400 people now get off the streets, and several of those are still in our aftercare program, and that's part of why we have such a high retention rate, is because we get people involved in staying with people after they get into apartments. So that's called aftercare. We have 5 routes that go to apartments. And so those are Sunday afternoon opportunities, and you could email us or call, and we could get you plugged into that. We don't have a lot of requirements to get involved initially. We want everybody to sort of taste it and see if it's right for them. So we'll hook you up with a trained route leader, and you won't have to go through a lot of training or anything. If you choose to stay and get involved, most people would make a commitment like 1 Sunday a month. And so maybe it's the 3rd Sunday or whatever Sunday it is, and then every 3rd Sunday you come out, we'll train you and teach you everything you need to know to be effective in doing this. We also have a ton of other volunteer opportunities. We do events. In fact, I need to mention we have the Iowa Homeless Memorial coming up at the state capitol on December 21st. It's always on the winter solstice because that's the longest night of the year and the first day of winter. So we remember people that died homeless. You're all invited. It's a very cold event. Dress warmly, but we try to get several hundred people there. And so that's an event, and we do event planning. We have a bunch of event planners. Our one, I would be not doing my job if I didn't mention, our one and only fundraiser each year is coming up next Saturday night, so you guys could still make it. And it's called the Down and Out Homeless Fundraiser, and it's going to be at the Ron Pearson Center this year. And so that's another event. We have folks doing our newsletters. We have folks doing all kinds of stuff. So if there's any area, if you've got a skill that you want to use, we can probably put it to use. And so yeah, there's lots of volunteer opportunities. Thank you so much. When people ask what they can do, we often say, we live on private donations, so you can obviously donate. You can volunteer because 95% of everything we do, I thought I had that on silent, but that's the end of my time.